Thank you so much, everybody. This is the first day of spring, even if it doesn't look like it. And so it really means a lot that you're coming out here getting, like, hailed on or whatever this is. I know some of you, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Zach Barber. I'm with Penn Environment. We're your statewide environmental advocacy group fighting for clean air, clean water, open spaces. Today we're here to talk about that first one, clean air. Who likes clean air? I like clean air. But before we get into that, I'm going to take a quick step back and just talk about Pittsburgh, this awesome place we live in. Now, it's no secret to us here that Pittsburgh is the greatest city on earth. And it feels like the rest of the world is finally starting to catch on to what we've always known. It seems like every month when you open the paper, Pittsburgh's on the top of another most livable cities list, coolest cities list, places to move, and that's awesome because it feels like there's nothing you can't do here. If you want to catch some world-class culture, we've got a symphony orchestra that'll knock your socks off. If you want to go see a championship caliber sports team, you have to choose which one you want to go see. But there's something that we can't do here, and that's breathe. At least not safely. See, despite all we have going for us, despite all the progress that we have made, we still breathe some of the worst air in the country. Allegheny County is in the top 2% of all counties for cancer risk. That means if you pull up a map of the United States and you point to a random place on that map, it would be safer for you to go there and breathe than for you to continue breathing here. That's unacceptable. That means that people in Cleveland and in Philly and in Baltimore get better air than we do. Are you okay with that? No. No. I'm not okay with that. You're not okay with that. And these guys up here should not be okay with it either. There's no reason why in America's most livable city on this awesome first day of spring that we should put our health at risk just by coming out and breathing this air. Our kids in Homewood and in Lawrenceville deserve to not put themselves at risk of asthma just by breathing, and our kids in Ben Avon and in Clarendon should be able to play football without having an asthma attack. And I can guarantee you, no Amazon executive wants to increase their cancer risk every single time they get on the bike and head to work. So this pollution that's making us sick, we know that it comes from just a few industrial sources. Our Toxic 10 report showed that 70% of the industrial pollution that we breathe, that pollution that's making us sick, comes from just 10 facilities here in Allegheny County. That's crazy. Most of the industrial pollution that's making us sick comes from just 10 sources. But I have some good news. We have the power to clean this up, and it's not just hypothetical. See, from the Federal Clean Air Act down to the state constitution, the law is clear. You and I and our neighbors and our friends, we all have a right to breathe clean air. And what's even better is right now, right up here in an office right over there, is the Allegheny County Executive Rich Fitzgerald, the man who oversees the department that has the ability to clean up our air. They have a responsibility and a duty to clean up our air. All we need is for people like Allegheny County Executive Rich Fitzgerald to finally start putting the health and well-being of people like you and me over the profits of big polluters. There are really simple actions that our leaders like Fitzgerald could take that would start cleaning up our air. First, we need to start reining in the pollution from these industrial facilities that are making us sick. And we need to do that through strong, timely permits that prioritize public health. Right now, some of our largest polluters don't even have a permit. That would be like if you've been driving for 2 decades without a license. See, our leaders would have something to say. You would totally get in trouble for that. So why is it different for a large steel facility? It shouldn't be. Number 2, we need our industry to start reporting openly and transparently what they're putting into our skies because we have a right to know what goes up our nose. And number 3, we need to hold people responsible when they exceed their limits. Too often, when companies repeatedly violate the law, all they face is a slap on the wrist. We need substantial escalating penalties for people who have shown that they just can't obey the law. Now, we're going to hear more about this from some of our other awesome speakers, but I just want to end by saying that we're Pittsburgh, and when we work together, there's nothing we can't do, right? This is the city that made itself into a global steel leader, and then when that fell apart, we reinvented ourselves into leaders in the 21st century economy of ideas, technology, and healthcare. 100 years ago, we cured polio, and right now, we're inventing the next generation of transportation. So there is no reason at all why we can't ensure that every single child in this county has safe air to breathe. Because cancer should not be the cost of breathing in America's most livable city. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn the mic over now to an awesome friend from Tuesdays with Toomey. But before we do that, can we get a huge cheer for our awesome friends who helped put this together? Tuesdays with Toomey. Woo!
No, we haven't. Hi, my name is Ian from Tuesdays with Toomeys. I am so glad to see everyone out. Can I get a little cheer? Awesome. Every week, Tuesdays with Toomey meet outside Senator Toomey's office at noon to protest that Senator Toomey is not listening to his constituents, and we are there, and we are here today to make sure that Senator Toomey and every other elected official that we have listens to us, listens to the voters. Who here's a voter? Yeah, go for it. We want our government to listen to the voters, and this is not a theoretical or hypothetical thing. Our voters are put there by us. We are the people who decides who lead us. We are a democracy. And as part of that democracy, our leaders need to be responsive to the needs of the citizens. They are public servants. They are not lords. They are not masters. They are public servants. They are here to serve us, and they are here to serve the public good. And there are few goods that are more public than the air that we breathe. There's air that we breathe, and the air that we breathe is public, and our elected leaders are here to manage the public good, and that public good is the air we breathe, the water we drink, and if the air we breathe is toxic, if the water we drink has lead in it, it is up to them to do something about it, to respond to us, the citizens, the people who are living here. And they are responsible on the federal level, Senator Toomey and Senator Casey, as well as our elected representatives in the House of Representatives, on the state level and on the local level, which is why we're here today in the county courthouse, because our local leaders are accountable to us. And are they doing their job? No! Well, I'll give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I'll give them a day or two to respond to the rally, but maybe that benefit is, maybe I'm just a little big-hearted. And why do we care? Again, this is not some hypothetical thing about why we care. I have known people who have, they've told me, Pittsburgh's an amazing place, I want to move to Pittsburgh. They move to Pittsburgh, they go outside and have an asthma attack. They leave within a year because they can't handle the high level of pollution in the air. They can't go outside. It looks like a clear day to them, but they're coming from California, Arizona, Florida, and they come outside, they can't breathe. They spend all day indoors having to run the filter on the air so that they can just get by until they can have enough money to move again, to leave. The air quality is something that drives people away from Pittsburgh. And all these people who think that Pittsburgh's great, do we want to drive them away? No! No! And, you know, and also, do we want our children to be sick? No! These are not hypothetical issues. The public good is not being properly managed right now. It needs to be properly managed right now. And the only way that we're going to call attention to the mismanagement of the public good is for the public to speak out to our leaders and for our leaders to respond, because, like I said, our leaders are public servants. They serve the public good, and I think that it's time that we remind them of that. So thank you for letting me talk. Thank you, and if you want to come out with Tuesdays with Toomey, there are plenty of us in the crowd. Just let us know.
Hey, ho, ho, dirty air has got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, dirty air has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, dirty air has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, dirty air.
everyone. Woo! Thank you for joining us today, even in the snow. My name is Annie Regan, and I'm the Western PA Outreach Coordinator at Penn Future. Penn Future is Pennsylvania's watchdog for clean air, pure water, and a healthy climate. And we accomplish this with a team of lawyers fighting for your environmental rights, a policy team in Harrisburg, and with outreach on the ground to mobilize voices like yours. I am here to speak on behalf of residents in the Mon Valley who could not be here today, but would have loved the opportunity to voice their concerns. Whether it's Clariton resident Cheryl Hurt, who runs a daycare center and uses a SPEC sensor to make sure the air is at a safe level for kids to breathe, or Jefferson Hills resident John Mikas, who couldn't sleep with his windows open due to the pernicious and harmful smells of benzene in the air, we all deserve the right to breathe clean air, free from fear. It's no surprise these smells and degradation of air quality come from U.S. Steel's Clariton Coke Works, which ranks number 3 in Penn Environment's Toxic 10 report. According to this report, there are roughly 36,900 people within just 3 miles of this facility. And yet, Penn Future found out from 2012 to 2015, there had been 6,700 air permit violations, an average of more than 4 violations per day. This toxic air pollution has contributed to high cancer risk in the area, according to the EPA's most recent National Air Toxic Assessment, as well as asthma rates among kids in Clariton, which is 3 times higher than the national average. Our health should not be determined by our zip code. Even though U.S. Steel entered into a consent judgment in court in 2016 that was intended to stop the violations, according to the EPA's online enforcement database, as of February 2018, the Clariton Coke Works has been out of compliance with the Clean Air Act for 11 of the last 12 quarters. It is time for a change. The oldest batteries at Clariton Coke Works must be shut down, and we must do better. We must demand change from Allegheny County Executive Rich Fitzgerald, the Allegheny County Health Department, and U.S. Steel. Thank you.
Thanks, Annie. And like you said, we need to demand change from the Allegheny County Executive. So let's tell them right now. What do we want? When do we want it?
Thanks, Zach. My name is Rachel Filippini, and I'm the director of the Group Against Smog and Pollution, or GASP. We've been around almost 50 years working to improve air quality in southwestern Pennsylvania. Thank you. You're welcome. So this is a message for County Executive Fitzgerald, for Mayor Bill Pizzuto, for all of our city and county council members, for all of our state reps and state senators. You cannot merely acknowledge that we have made progress in our air quality in the last several decades, because for so many, that is where the story stops. We've made so much progress. What we need is for our local leaders to acknowledge and recognize that right now, today, people's health is suffering. People are dying prematurely from the air we have today. So they need to recognize that fact, and they need to vow to do everything they can to improve this situation. We cannot dismiss our air pollution, we cannot ignore it, and we cannot make excuses for it and say, this is the price we pay for good jobs, because that's just not true. So Pittsburgh ranks in the top 10 for worst air pollution in the nation due to particle pollution. This is that fine soot coming out of the tailpipes of diesel trucks, coming out of the Clariton Coke Works, coming out of foundries and steel mills and coal-fired power plants all over the region. And it is causing cancer, it is causing asthma, respiratory diseases, cardiovascular diseases, adverse birth outcomes, premature death, dementia, and the list goes on, and it's unacceptable. Do you know that there are some schools in Allegheny County where the child asthma rate is more than double the state average? More than double. So these children, they're not just struggling to breathe, they end up struggling in school because asthma is the #1 reason for school absenteeism. We also have some of the highest cancer rates in the country. Again, unacceptable due to air exposure to air toxic. These high asthma rates and these high cancer incidences mean our entire region is just unhealthy. And not only are we unhealthy, we're less productive. We need to start treating our air pollution as a public health problem. and give it the same attention that we do any other public health threat. So it's not just about death and disease, it's also about the stink. How many of you smell stinky air more than once a week? How many of you smell stinky air more than 3 times a week? Some maybe more than 5 times a week. You're smelling this stinky air, and it's disrupting sleep, and it's disrupting your life. It's really making it quite unpleasant. Well, you don't just need to sit there and do nothing about it. A lot of times it's that rotten egg odor that's hydrogen sulfide, and it's coming from one of the main sources is our Coke making. Well, there is a standard for that, and there is a monitor for that, and it's been violated more than 50 times per year on average in the last 6 years. That is unacceptable, and something must be done about it. What about the fact that we have facilities in our communities right now that do not have operating permits? McConway and Torley Foundry in Lawrenceville has never had an operating permit. The Allegheny Ludlam facility up in Brackenridge has never, in the more than 15 years the health department has had the ability to issue them one, has never had an operating permit. That is. And there are lots of other facilities that are operating on expired ones. When you don't have a valid operating permit, it's very difficult to know if you are even complying with the law. So for all these reasons, we need our local leaders to stand behind us and to do what they can to protect the air we breathe. We need laws in place to protect our air, and we need to make sure they are rigorously enforced. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Randy. My name is Randy Francisco. I work for the Sierra Club, and this is my friend Marty. How many people here know who Rachel Carson is? Okay. Do you know that the largest, well, probably the only power plant left in Allegheny County, coal-fired power plant, sits in the middle of Rachel Carson's hometown? And that power plant, Marty lives across the street from. And she is really tired of the dust and the dirt and the cleaning up the messes. She cannot open her windows on when will be the first spring day that we have. She won't be able to open her windows. So I'm here today to tell you that we are fighting that plant on many levels. We are actually going after it. It's also polluting our water. The expired permits that Rachel talked about, we corrected that last year, got a permit on it, not as strong as we wanted, but we got them to actually turn on their scrubbers, which was great. This year, we're going to be fighting them on the water. They put an exorbitant amount of lead in the water that we already are dealing with here in Pittsburgh. So you actually have a chance, I don't know all the details yet, but look for details on April 25th. There will be a hearing by the DEP. You can come out and testify at that hearing that you want your water cleaned up as well. So how many people here are going to go to that hearing? All right. Thank you. And Marty thanks you because she's up there fighting with she loves it when she sees all these folks here fighting for her. So. And are we going to Glenn? Huh? Jeff? Okay. Next up we have Jeff.
Hello, everybody. Awesome. Great to see everybody out here today. Wish the weather was a bit better, but here we are. So thank you again, everyone, for coming out. My name is Jeff Bland. I'm an organizer with Clean Water Action. We're a national environmental nonprofit representing about 30,000 people here in Allegheny County alone. You've heard some specifics today about Allegheny County's poor air quality, and some of the point source polluters that contribute to this problem. What we haven't really heard about are the steps the county has taken to address these issues. One of the things that the health department has tried to do is create a new penalty system for polluters in the region. This system increases fines and calls for harsher consequences for polluters that impact vulnerable communities, like a lot of what we heard about today. This policy, though, is a step in the right direction, and I really want to thank the Health Department for trying to be proactive for once. However, because there was no public input at all during this process, the policy also has some pretty big loopholes that really must be addressed if it is to have the true intended impact of holding polluters accountable. For example, the Health Department went out of their way to ensure the penalty calculation and settlement negotiation documents are exempt from right-to-know laws. Boo! Exactly. And prohibiting residents from knowing how the enforcement is being applied and if it's even being done in good faith. This would be especially helpful for cases such as U.S. Steel, who have exceeded their consent decree at the Clairton Coke Works almost 4 times a day on average every day since their new consent decree in 2016. The Health Department also made it so that fines can be diverted away from going into the Clean Air Fund, which is used to support projects to improve air quality, and put directly into community projects. It sounds like a good idea directly into the community, but the potential community projects, what they could look like, is not so clear, and really leaves a lot to be desired and some more loopholes that could be exploited and end up being ineffective. So to increase the Health Department's accountability to residents and prevent abuse by polluters, we're calling on the Health Department to update the new civil penalty policy by removing the gag order that explicitly prohibits residents from verifying the policy is being applied in good faith. The details, absolutely. The details of air quality exceedances from any industry need to be made public and should be done through quarterly reports that include the date, the time, the source, and the type of exceedances. And how much each penalty was calculated, how it was calculated, the reasoning behind these. This is the information that the public needs to know, so we can stay engaged. Ensuring also that any supplemental environmental projects that offsets a penalty that might be paid be related to air quality, or demonstrate that the project will provide a much higher public health or environmental value than an air quality related project. Prohibit the industry that is directing its fine into these supplemental environmental projects from using the project for marketing or public relations. There should be no misconception about why these projects are happening. We can't have them building parks in neighborhoods and saying it's out of goodwill. This is consequences for their pollution. And also guarantee that the success of any of these environmental projects by holding it to measurable standards, and that if those benefits aren't realized, the Health Department must collect the original fine levied. So Clean Water Action recently presented this proposal to the Board of Health at their meeting earlier this month. Unfortunately, it seems really all too often that these proposals fall on deaf ears. The concerns of Allegheny County residents we're used to that at this point, unfortunately. We need the Allegheny County Chief Executive, Rich Fitzgerald, to intervene on the behalf of his constituents and direct his health department to take the necessary additional steps to ensure that we're addressing these ongoing problems. One initial step that County Executive Rich Fitzgerald can take is to join us at the May Board of Health meeting. See all the brave people that stand up and defend their communities every time those meetings happen. So as we welcome spring and the opportunity it brings to enjoy the outdoors, we must continue to be vigilant and demand that the Health Department close the loopholes, ensure that fines are used for community projects, improve the environmentally impacted communities, and release these quarterly reports that outline all the details we need to see so we can stay engaged and active on these issues. But in the meantime, we have to continue further exploring citizen monitoring projects like the Smell Pittsburgh app. Connects folks directly to the Health Department for odor-related complaints. And, as always, remember, if you smell something, say something. Thank you.
Thanks again, everyone, for coming out. Before we let you go, I understand that there's someone who wants to lead us in a song. And while we're getting that queued up, I've got 2 awesome ways that you can fight for air quality without leaving your couch. The first one's the easiest thing in the world. It requires nothing but texting into our mobile action network. This is exciting because as you're living your busy life, as you're shopping at Giant Eagle and wondering, like, what can I do to make air quality better, we will text you where the biggest fights are, what the biggest issue in the moment is, and we'll even text you the number of the person to call. All you have to do is tap the number and it will connect you to a way to fight for change. Can I borrow someone's sign here for a second? So the nice part is we made it nice and simple. All you have to do is text clean air to that number right there. That's 21333, and then we will let you know how you can help clean up our air. Thanks. Now, the second way is what Jeff was talking about, Smell Pittsburgh. We have an awesome Smell Pittsburgh app screenshot here. This is what a bad day looks like. And we've heard all too often that our leaders aren't hearing from the public when there's a bad air day. Well, we want to help show that that's not the truth. So whenever you smell something, like Jeff said, say something with the Smell Pittsburgh app.
Great. We're going to do, for those of you that have sheets, we're going to do 1, 2, and the last verse.
And we are Tuesdays with Toomey, and we understand that all movements succeed when we sing together. So find someone with a song sheet, verses 1, 2, and the last one.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, pollution is here. We need to breathe clean air, our air is toxic now. Stand out, speak out, fight back for healthy air. My country, 'tis of thee, our land has liberty and justice for all. Help us to stand and fight, help us to make this right. Stronger together we will fight and vote you out.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for everyone who came out, for everyone who helped make this happen. Glenn is going to tell us about some water activity. I just want to shout out to Sierra Club, Clean Water Action, GASP, Penn Future, the Breathe Collaborative, Clean Air Council, Penn Environment. On behalf of all of us, thank you so much for coming out on this crazy day. I've been rained on, sleeted on, and snowed on just while we've been up here. That's Pittsburgh weather for you.
So, hey everyone, my name's Allie, this is my colleague Glenn. We're with the Our Water campaign. We're a campaign fighting for safe, affordable, and publicly controlled water in Pittsburgh. I've been handing out these flyers because we're here in solidarity with our partners working on air quality, but we also need to make sure we have clean water in Pittsburgh. So, if you don't know, Thursday is World Water Day, and our campaign is celebrating the human right to safe, affordable water. So we're going to have a Know Your Water Rights training. It's going to be at the place called The Shop in Homewood, 621 North Dallas Avenue at 6 p.m. You can go learn all about how to exercise your right to safe, affordable water, or ask us any other questions about how you can get involved making sure our water is publicly controlled in Pittsburgh. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks again, everyone, for coming out. Now, the famous adage is if it's not on social media, it didn't happen, so we're going to take a photo. Can everyone gather up here? And then we'll take one last photo and then go on our ways.